If you've ever fallen in love with a book, you've also become enamored with an author. Perhaps you've even sent a fan letter or email to that author, hoping in some way to connect with the person who crafted such a wonderful story. Laurie Reynolds Paisley not only fell in love with Christmas jars, she decided that the rest of the world needed to read author Jason Wright's touching novel. And so, she began a series of actions that, like a pebble dropped into water, spread far beyond her reach. So you said you emailed the author. Did you hear back from him?
Immediately.
Immediately, the same day?
I think so. Yeah.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, he was very good at responding. And
were you surprised by that?
Yes, that was the first author I had ever emailed. So I was very surprised that he responded. He was very grateful, and we kept in touch. He knew I was a big fan and was trying to sell as many copies of this book as I could because I really believed in it. And the publisher took notice at one point of the sales and sent him out here to do a signing at our Barnes & Noble.
Where is he from?
He is from Virginia.
And did he say what inspired him to write this story?
It was inspired by real life events. He lost his father when he was 16. And he and his wife had 2 young kids, maybe 3 at the time, 3 young kids, I think. And he was kind of feeling like maybe his dad would be disappointed in what he had become and that he wasn't giving enough back. And so he and his wife decided to put a jar on the kitchen counter and throw some change in it. And every time they threw change in, he thought of his dad, and it was just something that they came up with kind of off the top of their head. And that first Christmas, I think maybe they had $85 or something in that jar, and they took it to a home where I believe their son was going on a mission trip, and they left it on the front porch and rang the doorbell and ran. And he tells it in a much funnier way because, the kids were little at the time and they were frightened about ringing the doorbell. They were sure they were going to get in trouble. And after Jason rang the doorbell and ran, off he went and looked back, and the 2 girls were still sitting in the bushes. So we had to go back and get them. So
the publisher is happy. The author's happy. They send him here for a book signing. What's it like to meet this person?
It was awesome. I mean, I was a nervous wreck.
Why?
I was just surprised that something that I had done would lead to, them sending him to come to the store. He really wrote it for himself and for his family, and if it never went anywhere, that was okay with him. And it turned out to be a New York Times best-selling book.
Do you feel as if you helped that in any way? Or does he acknowledge that? Does he feel that way?
You'd probably have to ask him that.
Okay.
I don't want to speak.
Okay.
It's been a group effort by all kinds of people. I mean, I can say that, certainly my neighbors and family and friends have helped, because I know that the books that I gave them, they in turn recommended it to others. And I mean, it's a spare change movement that has moved across the country and into other countries as well.
And so where does it go from there? He says, hi, you have a great signing, and he leaves town. Is that the end of it?
No. We kept in touch, and at that point he promised, he was so thrilled that he promised that whatever book he published, he would come back and make sure he was in our store doing signings. And he and I kept in touch for, forever. I mean, we're still in touch, and we've become great friends. When he comes out with a book, I push it, even though I'm not at the bookstore anymore.
So in 2005, you and your family decide you're going to start your own Christmas jar tradition.
Mm-hmm.
Is it hard to do? Do you find yourself forgetting to put change in on some days? How does it work?
No, actually, the first couple jars were the easiest because we were so focused and so excited about it. As the years have gone by, we've become less of a cash society, so very few of us have change. And so these days I have to make an effort really to remember to use cash, because otherwise it's just debit card. But those first years were exciting, and we would sit around the kitchen table and everybody would throw in, a name or a family, or sometimes we did just an anonymous person. I remember one Christmas I took the kids downtown and we drove around Indianapolis for about an hour and saw a homeless man, and saw a couple homeless men, but we decided on one that was missing half of a leg. And the kids got out of the car. They were a little nervous, so I went ahead and went and presented it to him. But he gave me a huge hug and said, "God bless you." And those were the times that were good, I think, for the kids to see. That just a little bit of change can make such a big difference to somebody. And there were times where we knew of families who were going through illness, cancer, or somebody had lost their job in their family, and we would focus on those people. And sometimes, as the years went by, we would have not just one Christmas jar, but we would fill 2 Christmas jars.
So what happens in the evolution of this project in your life, over and above filling the Christmas jars? I shared it. Of course, all of my friends and family jumped in, and they too thought it was a great idea. They all read the books. And from 2005 to 2009, I'm continuing to push this book. So I'm still working at the bookstore. I'm still hand selling, book after book after book. Have repeat customers come in. And some customers, every year they buy the same number. Every year they buy 10 copies of this book, and they give it to the bus drivers, and they give it to hostess, gifts at Christmas. 2009, a sequel came out. And that's Christmas Jars Reunion. Same characters, but this time Hope Jensen, who was the recipient of the first Christmas jar in Christmas Jars book, is now on a mission to collect 1,001 jars. 1,001?
1,001 jars, full, and then she wants to give them all out.
Did you know he was writing this sequel?
I did.
And did he ask you for any input, or did he just write it?
He trusted me enough to let me read some of the manuscript.
And what was your thought as you read through it? Because 1,001 sounds like a big amount of jars.
It is a big amount of jars. And in the book, she loses focus. That really, it's not about the number of jars that you give away. It's about that one jar, that one family that you're going to help. And so it was actually the manuscript that I had read before it came out. And it was I think it was in May of 2009. And I put that manuscript down, and nothing like this has ever happened to me before. I stood up, and I immediately heard this voice telling me that I did not need to fill 1,001 jars, but I needed to find 1,001 people to fill jars and give them out and feel what it's like to give anonymously.